So now at this point, we're going to transition into mobility for our spine. I think I'm going to break this up into three separate chunks where we focus first on kind of the hip and lumbar spine connection. Then we're going to transition into some foam rolling for mainly our thoracic spine or mid back. And then we're going to go ahead and start looking at some different ways of working on cervical range of motion with different arm swings. So to start, we're going to go ahead and start looking at the hip and low back combination movements. These things need to be able to move fluidly together, and if they can't, oftentimes that low back is going to start to talk to you because it's not getting any help from the hips. And so things that we can be doing, we're going to go into a split stance. Now you could work on this out in the open. Let's say whether you're at home or getting ready to go for a run, you're on the trail getting ready to go for a walk. This is a great way to kind of warm things up before you go on your walk or your run. Or if you're at home holding on to something so you have a little bit of external support, you don't have to worry about so much of the balance component. So what we want to do is we're going to get into our split stance. Just like we've talked about before, that back leg is nice and straight. We're not allowing ourselves to toe out. We're going to keep things straight so that we can drive into a little bit of ankle dorsiflexion, hip extension, and then I can start to incorporate my spine in some different directions through there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a rotation reach, driving with our arms. So we got our feet planted. We're going to take our right arm, right foot back, and we're going to reach across our body, working on rotation. Now, as you come across the body, you should feel some motion in your spine, but it's probably going to increase that front hip stretch just a little bit as you come across. So usually thinking about 5 or 6 repetitions, and then I'm going to transition into my lateral motion. So we're reaching up and across here and then back, really getting a good stretch through this whole lateral flank and kind of fascial network through here. 5 or 6 reaches there. Now we're going to go ahead and take our arm and then we're going to reach up and back, really thinking about trying to reach the ceiling or reach for the sky to lengthen ourselves out, kind of get that good stretch through more of the front hip and up into the front trunk as we go up and through there. 5 or 6, shake it out, and then what we'll do is we'll rinse and repeat. Make sure our footwork's good here, nice and in line. My left foot's back, my left arm is going to do the reaching. We're coming across for 5 or 6, lateral, and then big tall reaches up and back. There, about 5 or 6 times each way to kind of get that really good hip and low back combination. So now we're going to transition into some different foam rolling strategies for our thoracic spine. Using our foam roller, it's a really nice fulcrum, solid but yet forgiving, so it's not too much pressure on the back, but it provides a nice solid surface. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start by positioning it right below my shoulder blades. I have my knees bent so my low back isn't compromised. If our legs are straight, usually that's going to lead to a little bit too much extension of the low back. So we're going to keep our knees bent, support my head with my hands as I then bring my spine backwards over the foam roller. I want to make sure that I keep my chin tucked and I don't overextend. We don't want to strain the neck during this time. We want to keep the head supported and the chin tucked as I go back. And what I'm going to do is about 5 or 6 back and forths. And then on my last one, I'm going to go back and then I'm going to do a little side to side. So now I'm getting that thoracic spine to move in the side to side or that frontal plane of motion while it's extended. After about 5 or 6 of those, take tension off. I'm going to go back one more time, and then I'm going to try and look over my left shoulder and look over my right shoulder. So now I'm starting to partner that extension with rotation. And again, about 5 or 6 each way. Once I go through that series, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, but I'm going to move the foam roller up my back, maybe 1 to 2 inches. So now it's positioned in a couple different segments, and I'm going to go through that series again. I'm going to go through my pure extensions, 5 or 6, where I'm supporting my head. I'm going to go into extension and get side bending. And then I'm going to get extension with rotation, looking over that shoulder. Now, as you go higher up into the spine, you're going to feel where there's more and more limitation in your motion because we don't have as many pieces to play with. But the foam roller is a great way to really kind of lock in and work on just that mid-back mobility. It's a great way to kind of roll out some soft tissue and do some self-massage and self-care, but a really handy tool. Now for our last piece, we're going to be looking at the cervical range of motion. Now, typically when we think about the neck moving, we're thinking about the head moving on the shoulders. We're going to be going to one side or the other, or looking up and down or side to side. But if our neck doesn't feel good, that may not be the best approach. We can go ahead and now we can think of it in the opposite direction where we're going to go ahead and drive motion from the bottom up. So I'm going to look at ways of trying to move my shoulders on my head. And a lot of times this is a great way to kind of enter through the back door, if you will, to get some motion going, but it doesn't seem as threatening or as irritable to that region. So oftentimes what I'll do is we'll split our stance so we can kind of get some motion going for our hips and the rest of our spine as well. And I'm going to be here having someone focus on something out there in front of them so it keeps their head straight. And then we're just going to swing the arms back and forth. Looks silly, but as I bring my left shoulder towards my chin, it's as if I just turn to look over my left shoulder and vice versa. So going through about 5 to 10 rotations back and forth, and then I'm going to switch legs. So now this other hip gets a chance to get some extra motion going. My spine kind of gets that different reaction going, and we're still working on neck rotation. Then from here, I'm going to come into a neutral stance, and I'm going to work on forwards and backwards swings. Again, I keep my eyes fixated on something in front of me, so my head stays still, and then we move the body on a fixed head. So now I'm working on motion that is similar to my neck and my head looking up and looking down, but I'm moving the body on my head at this point. Okay? And then our last direction is sideways. Same idea, but now we're going to use our arms to drive motion laterally, across and back. Trying your best to keep your head still while your body moves towards your head. So as I reach with my right arm up and overhead this way, it's as if I'm trying to side bend my right ear towards my right shoulder. And then we go ahead and we get our reaches in the opposite way, 5 to 10. And then it's as if I'm trying to sideways bend towards my left shoulder. So hopefully that gives you some different ideas of thinking about spinal mobility. So whether it's your low back, mid back, cervical spine, or a little bit of everything, it's all good. Getting things moving and gliding is helpful for joint health, connective tissue health, muscle and fascia. We want to keep that stuff lubricated and moving, especially as like a warm-up before going and exercising, going for a walk, or breaking up your office work schedule. If you've been doing a lot of sitting, driving, computer work, it's a great way to break those things up. So now from here, we're going to go ahead and begin to transition into our strengthening program.